for change. A new life has begun.
Okay, and there it is. All right, here we go, popping right here. Introduce yourself, young lady.
My name is Jen. Hello.
And you're
How
from?
are you?
We got
California.
California. I've been to. I told you I was in California a couple times. I went to Laguna Beach. I actually went
Oh,
to a
yeah.
12-step fellowship meeting. It was a little different for me. It was good. It was definitely good. Definitely good. So we got 97 on her popping 98. Help us share this out. Let's. I'm going to talk about. My thing is breaking the cycle, but it started with some trauma. And chaos wasn't chaos. It was normal as a little boy growing up, and didn't realize that it wasn't right. And so later on in life, once I looked at me, the root of what I suffered from. So what do you got for us, young lady?
Oh, you guys ready to talk trauma? Woo! That's my jam.
Sir Jim, y'all. Real
That
quick,
is-
we got. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Do your shout out.
Real quick, we got T Bass in the house. I love you, woman. Real talk, Jerry. I see you. How you doing? Renee Cooper up in there. I'm glad I got to meet you down in Florida last week. Stephen Jewell up in there. How you doing, my brother? Stanley Arnold Jr. 189. All right, I see you. Tammy Turner Lucas, ladies and gentlemen. Mary Tuttle, my cousin. Gardner Strain down in Ohio. I love you guys, man. Help us put this out there. I'm excited tonight because this is the root of what we suffer from. That little boy issue, that little girl issue, these things that we don't realize that we carry on in life, not realize, man, it's holding us back, man. We got to get some freedom. All right, go ahead, do your thing, young lady. Thank you.
I feel like I'm at like an auction or something. Like, hey.
Right.
Here's some recovery for $2. $2. Who's got 30? Who's got 30?
Right. That's what we do.
Yeah, I love it. I
And
knew
you
it was
have a
gonna be
book.
like
You
that.
wrote a book.
I did. I wrote a book. So my name is Jen. I already said that. And just a little reminder that I am on my phone and I don't turn anything else on. So I want to concentrate on my people right here. So I will be answering at all the comments afterwards. So I'm not ignoring anyone. So I have been in recovery for 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
lots of miracles. And yeah, trauma is my jam because although sobriety saved my physical life, trauma work has saved my recovery. And I believe that the biggest killer, the most dangerous thing out there in the entire world is shame. Shame supersedes everything. It supersedes any drug. It supersedes guilt. You cannot make amends out of shame. You can't make amends your way out of shame. Shame is deep rooted and attached to every emotion. And so shame is exactly why I went down the road I went. So it's impossible for me to even share my addiction or recovery story without sharing my childhood story because they are absolutely connected. They are the same thing.
Right. So that shame, Jen, like for me, shame was like, again, I grew up and chaos wasn't chaos, but the shame was how I led my children. I would take them shoplifting, right? I'd take them boosting, and then I'd tell them we're going to get ice cream or something. But first and foremost, I would have to go steal to get money to sell the stolen stuff. And first, after I got the money, it was a long process. And there's these kids is like, what the heck? And then we'd go cop dope. They're babies.
Yeah.
They're 5 and 7 years old. Things like that. So, and again, not realizing all this, because I wasn't in my right state of mind. Again, and these are things I went through as a little boy. And I said I would never do this to my children, but I did anyway.
There you go. That what you just said there is that those are the things you went through as you were a little boy. And those are the things we have to go back to. That's where we got to dig. We got to dig past the drugs. We got to dig past, because I think most people probably agree with me that once you're in any type of, long-term recovery, whatever long-term means for you, you'll realize that drugs and alcohol are like 5% of recovery. I mean, it is such a small percent, Of course, when we first get in recovery, I just wanted to figure out how to brush my teeth without using. I had no clue how to human at all. I was an animal. But over time, you realize that, man, that is such a minor part. And so we have to dig back. And so that's kind of my thing now, is just to tell my story. And my story may be different than your story. But the root and the feelings most people can identify with in some way. So, you know, I grew up in, you know, that chaos that you're talking about. You know, I was born into a home of addiction and a lot of mental illness and, you know, suicide attempts and, you know, chaos. My mom, and just all of it was chaos. And I learned very quickly to keep very quiet and how to, I love Higgy, and how to remove who I really was from the picture in order to not be seen. And so my addiction is really all about emotions and behaviors. And those behaviors started when I was like 3 years old, probably. And, you know, my parents joined a religious cult. And,
yeah. Okay. No,
yeah.
that's real, man. Dude, this is deep, you know? I mean, because we'll see it on TV and we'll see it in the movies. And like, again, you know, we did a video, a friend of mine, Sonny Raimi, and me, you know, think, oh, this can't happen to me. We know that dope kills people. We know when you're sticking a needle in your arm, you're taking that chance, right? Oh, but it won't happen to me. And boom, then it happens to you. Share about that.
Yeah. So we, you know, my mom has, you know, debilitating mental illnesses. And I think they were looking and searching for help outside of themselves. And so this group, you know, they portrayed themselves as a church, but I want to be clear that it was disbanded as a documented religious cult. So it was not a church; it was a cult.
Okay.
But they moved us all to Mobile, Alabama. So I had a little experience in that.
The Bible Belt, baby, Alabama.
Yeah.
Come on, amen.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
Oh. So we moved to Mobile, Alabama. We all had to live in the same area. We all ate from the same co-op. The recipes were biblical. We went to the same school. Anyways, over time, you know, these elders, they controlled everybody. They had file cabinets of each family, and they had intimate information, like about the wives and husbands' sex lives. And so they knew that my mom was ill, but they thought it was a demon possession. So she never received treatment.
Okay.
But they saw our family as giving into temptation of the devil. So they knew I came from a broken home. Children from broken homes are very easy targets for predators.
Okay. Why is that? Why do you feel that is?
Because if you come from a home where the parent is not present, it makes the child more safe. So most likely the parents aren't paying attention. They're not paying attention to signs, number one. They're not going to believe if the child says anything. And then even if they believe, what are they going to do? They come from broken homes, poverty, people that are using, whatever. It just makes it easier. Predators don't really usually pick on kids that come from a parent that's like maybe me now, you know, me. Like I'd be on it. I can see the signs, you know, I'm present, I'm home, you know, I talk to my kids. So they knew that my family was broken. And so one day, you know, this elder called me into his office and he sat me on his lap and he started playing with my hair and coloring books and memorizing Bible verses. And he showed me attention that I was starving for. I was a child starving for someone to love her.
Right.
And I was seeking it out anywhere. And, you know, I don't like to get too triggery or get into much detail, but those times turn into something really frightening, confusing. I would disassociate from my body and leave myself to him to do whatever he wanted. And he molested me until we escaped that cult when I was 10. A man started coming around and secretly offering to rescue families and bring them back to their, you know, we were completely separated and segregated from all of our outside family. We're only allowed to talk to these people in this congregation. And so when I was 10, we moved back here, exactly where I live now. I've lived here since I was 10 years old. And I thought that, like a relocation, like we think sometimes people think like, oh, if you move away, well, wherever you go, there you are. Right. So
there you are.
I thought, well, I'm leaving. So it's going to be, it's over now. I never told anybody. I kept secrets. I never told anybody. I never told my mom about how much it hurt me, what she was always doing. And my mom has Munchausen. My mom has Munchausen and Munchausen by proxy, which if it's probably a lot of people are not familiar, but basically Munchausen is where you inflict injury on yourself, and by proxy is when you inflict injury onto your children. So there is some documentaries about it. It's, like you'll see on the news sometimes people that hold the pillow over the infant. And then as soon as all the medical team runs in, they pull the pillow away and then they're like the rescuers.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's very
something about that. Yeah, I know a person like that. Yeah.
It's bad. It's actually criminal, but she was not diagnosed with it until, my brother and I were in our 20s. So it went, yeah. So I just kept a lot of secrets and I held a lot in, and those secrets then were a perfect breeding ground for shame. Secrets, turn into shame. All that stuff you hold inside that you think makes you so dirty and so disgusting and so unlovable and so bad. And my mommy doesn't want to live for me. And I'm a dirty dirty child for what I did with that elder, because I never thought I was a victim. I thought.
Now, how old were you at that time?
10. 10 is when I moved back here. But it happened. I was molested from about 5 to 10.
Holy cow.
And
this was an elder, like, the pillar of the community, like
he was
people looked up to.
We were taught that he was closer to God than we would ever be.
Oh, wow. Nobody's above me. Nobody's below me. God loves me just like he loves you. Get out the way. Here we go.
Yeah. This is not the way that these people ran.
Ooh, that's scary.
So what I was taught about God was that God was a God of pain. I was the God that picture I was painted was that God was of pain, that I was always bad because I was, any little child, like, your kid, they get in an argument with each other. That's giving into temptation of the devil. The devil's always after my soul. And I was always, giving into that. It was very hard to grow up like that. But when I was 10, we moved back here and I thought, well, okay, it's over. I can just move that, put it behind me. But, I was wrong. Shame latches onto everything. And nightmares started coming and memories started coming, and I was hyper vigilant, jumpy and scared, and I started eating disorders, anything to get control, because I had no control over my body, and that's where trauma lives, is in the body. So I became suicidal. Around 11, I started fascinating, like dreaming and having these fascinations about killing myself, because I just hated myself. I hated myself. I can't even put into words how much I wished I was anybody but me. And when I was 12, I found vodka. And this is going to sound weird, but vodka saved my life.
Okay. No. And I get it, because if it wasn't for the dope, the alcohol,
yeah.
I mean, I'm liable to ended it,
Yeah, exactly.
Because I remember
came very, very close.
That shame,
Yeah.
That shame. Yeah.
It'll destroy you. Shame is the top killer. I believe that. It destroy you in all kinds of ways, even if substances isn't what you go to, but it'll destroy your entire life. And it destroys people in recovery. I see it every day. And that's why I share my story. But alcohol and drugs saved my life. It was the first peace I had ever felt. I was an alcoholic at 12 years old. And I just thought, I could finally sit in my own skin, and I could finally look in a mirror. And I had not been able to do that in so long. I couldn't even. I remember I would brush my hair with my eyes closed. I just couldn't even stand to look at myself. Um, and if anybody on here has, endured childhood sexual abuse or child abuse in any way, they could probably relate with that. It does not change how you see your abuser. It changes how you see yourself.
Exactly, and we do an event every year, Jan, and like called the Blameless Children, because we want to be the voice, because all this pain, this shame, this guilt that I had by my actions and hurt these babies. My little boy, he was 5 years old. He's 26 now, but when he was 5, would ask his mother, "Why don't my daddy love me?" Because I was too busy out here, smoking crack and putting a needle in my arm. And he
Yeah.
didn't take it on. He took it on that he wasn't worthy. He
Yeah.
wasn't worthy of my love. That's trauma.
Yeah.
I hurt that little boy, thinking that he
Yeah.
wasn't good enough for me. You know what I mean? So I'm
It's
with
true.
you right there. There's some things that I had to dig, and then I would stuff all that shame for not being a father, being a coward, and out here doing what I do. Like I said, and and I would stuff it with dope and alcohol, and it's just progressive. A lot of penitentiary time, a lot of, ins and outs. And like I told you, I led 2 of my 4 sons to the penitentiary, because of the trauma I caused, teaching them things like, oh, it ain't a crime unless you get caught, some just, whoa, insanity.
Right. Yeah, right. Right. I mean, the world of addiction is insane. I've been there.
Right. But no.
There.
But and like you said, if it
Yeah.
wasn't for vodka, then you would have probably offed yourself.
I would have attempted. I don't know if at 12, I watched my mom try to do it a lot. And so I kind of had a
Wow.
plan. I started planning, and oh gosh, I was so close. It gives me chills still today to think of how close I was. And so, my parents were just so consumed with my mom's stuff, and they're all, prescription, just, it's a mess over there still to this day. But so nobody noticed. I mean, there were so many signs. Oh my goodness, with me, so many signs that when I noticed. But ultimately, my parents just have never had the tools to survive themselves. That's what it ultimately comes down to, is that they are just, trauma. They have trauma and they have wounds, and they have just never stood up and faced those. Instead, they just bleed all over everybody around them.
And that's it. Even people that didn't wound them, and that's what it does.
Right.
Everybody you come in contact with, like when I was in addiction, left me worse off than they were when they met me. I totally get it. And it's like my mother, she's an active addiction, and has been since I can remember. My grandparents raised me, and it's really sad because I mentioned something, and then she just starts F-bombing away, and
Yeah.
I don't know, and it's like, I don't know what to do. What can I do but keep being this vessel, letting my actions show? Because she knows I'm the real deal dope fiend junkie. Until I got where I'm at, and realized my true identity. I do have purpose. I do have worth. Because of my little boy issues, my learning disability, I couldn't read, couldn't write as well as the other kids. The verbal abuse at home, I was told I was a little feeble-minded, dumb son, but you hear me? And then go to school and get labeled, and then put the mask on. Hee ha ha, I'm really okay, but I'm dying inside. I'm a little boy, you know what I mean? My feelings, I'm over here dying inside, dressed up garbage can. It wasn't until I realized, hey, man, this is how God made me. This is how I can be. And this is who he made me to be. I have worth. I have purpose, to really start believing. Now that evil committee does pop up and tell me these things every other day. Oh, you ain't no count. You ain't no good. You big dummy. You hear me? Get off me, devil.
Right, no.
You know what I mean? How do we deal with that?
Shame will always, I mean, I just honestly, shame is my go-to. It's like the first thing that I go to. So if I mean, it could be minor, and that's the thing. Shame comes in and for minor things, like maybe you forgot, like maybe we were a couple of minutes late on this recording. Maybe I didn't show up on time. Most people would be like bummed. Oh, that sucks. Or I'm sorry. I'll be like, I'm a horrible person. I'm broken. I'm dysfunctional, and I'm not capable of living like everybody else. That is where I go to, straight to there.
My boss, and you're so right. my boss, he'll call every now and then and say, "Oh, dude, you're doing great. You're doing wonderful." And we get off the phone. And why is he saying that? My mind is crazy. Is he telling me that because he's getting ready to fire me? Just the crazy insanity in between my ears. I know that don't make no sense, but
No,
he
I
said,
get it.
I'm getting set up right now. It's crazy. But and that's why it's good to just be honest about what's going on up here. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, speaking it does take out a lot of the power. Holding it in will just fester and fester and fester. And I just, I'm so about like, I stayed silent for almost my entire life. And that silence just destroyed me from the inside out. And it destroyed me worse than even the drugs destroyed me, even though, that's hard to believe, but yeah, it did.
No, it's real. No, it's so real
Yeah.
because, like you said, earlier, the dope and alcohol are just a symptom. It's interior.
For sure.
Way
It
before the
is.
dope and alcohol, I got some stuff going on upstairs. Somebody
Right.
hold me. But then we got to be careful because people will hold you for the wrong reasons. It's not genuine, And if I'm doing this, for something else other than God, I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? If I'm looking
Right.
for self-validation, if I'm looking to score something you got or gain something from you, come on, man. Come
Right.
on, man. You know what I mean? Let's
Yeah.
cure, man. We don't need that.
No.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Real quick, if I could, I want to give a shout out to Dale Sanders. I love you. Tell Avery I'm excited about her speaking to blameless children. Amazing. Avery's 12 or 13 now. It started when she was 10 with the blameless children. This is a young lady that shares about, planting flowers on her dad Heath's grave. It's Dale's granddaughter. Amazing. This is real. Life is real. Life shows up, but we don't got to stay stuck in it. We can break cycles here. We can grow. We can use our testimonies, our ventures to help someone else, and let them know they don't got to stay stuck there and don't got to die there. You do have purpose. You do have worth, right? Your life has meaning,
For sure. And it's taken me a long time to believe that. A really long time. I mean, I drank and then I used and, my addiction just grew and grew and grew until, I was a heroin and meth addict for 13 years on the streets.
13.
My teeth were falling out. I mean, I was losing teeth left and right. I had abscesses all over my body. I was eating out of garbage cans and, staying in cars and living under a bridge. There were times where I was like in psychosis and just, I don't even know what was real. Yeah.
You had no idea what was real, right?
I have no idea. Some of it I still to this day can't piece it together.
Real quick, Johnny, message me after this is over, and let's see if we can, if your dad's willing or if he isn't willing. Sometimes we got to step in. But yeah, message me. Let's see what we can do, sweetie. I totally understand.
Yeah, that's rough.
13 years, girl. You was out there just crazing a June bug, nutting in a squirrel turd, wasn't you? I mean,
I was like nuts. I mean, for me, I was like you were saying how inside you were, scared and emotional boy. Inside I was terrified. Inside I was so wounded, but I was so afraid of anybody ever, finding that out. So I was so on the outside, I was so aggressive and so tough and I was always instigating people. And I mean, I've been beat up by more guys than I can count. I mean, I was always, I'm telling you, I've had knives to my throat.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, the whole
troublemaker,
thing.
wasn't you?
I really was. But inside, I was just so wounded. And no matter what happened to me, and I've had a lot of things happen to me in my addiction, but no matter what happened, none of it was as bad as facing my past, my childhood. None of it. I just couldn't go there. I was willing to die to avoid that. I couldn't even bear to look at it. As soon as anything came up, that just was my time. It was time to use again. I couldn't even feel it. It just was
so overwhelming. You were a baby. You were 5 years old.
I was, yeah.
You're a baby.
I was a baby.
5-year-old little girl, man.
But I didn't realize that. I thought that I was a bad person. I thought I was dirty. And I thought that, I had never told anybody or asked them to stop, or, I never told anybody what my mom was doing to us. I just never told anybody. So those secrets, made me feel like I was a participant. Somehow it transmutes and transforms into my secrets. Those are never my secrets. Those are their secrets.
Yes.
But they turned into my secrets because I just never said anything. So I felt that they were my secrets, but they never were. They never were. That was never my burden to carry, ever. But I did carry it, and it gets heavier and heavier as the years go on. And then not only that, but you're adding on even more trauma and more baggage and more things like that. I did a lot. I made a lot of mistakes in my addiction. I committed a lot of crimes. I was in and out of jail a lot. I went to prison.
What state did you go to prison in?
California.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I did a lot of stuff that, the things that we're not proud of, that's different than shame. That's guilt. There's a difference. So I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of, that I've had to work through and make amends with myself, make amends with others, make amends with the court, lots of amends, let me tell you. But the thing with trauma is that, the bridge between trauma and addiction is like this road that constantly just feeds back into itself. So if you have trauma, which everybody has some trauma, but if you have trauma that, sits with you or whatever, it makes you super, super more likely. And that's like, I'm like, totally, that is like such a lame, super, super more likely to then fall into substance use disorder, right? Huge link. It's a known fact. Then while you're in an addiction, you become you're going to become more apt to be re-traumatized by being with crime, rape, selling your body, all the things that we do, hanging around, people that are dangerous, jail, prison, all these things are traumatic experiences. Not only that, let's just say for argument's sake, let's say there's somebody watching right now that had like the happiest addiction you could find. He was at home. He stayed with mommy and daddy. They gave him his drugs. He never had to commit a crime. He was cushioned his house. And I think that's rare, but let's just say for argument's sake. So, and he never had a bad, his childhood was wonderful and whatever. The best description I've ever heard, the most simple about trauma, is that the opposite of trauma is choice. So anything that we go through where we do not have a choice, where it's out of our control, whether that's something that we go through, something that happens around us, where we are out of control, we don't have control over it. We are just, it is happening and we can't change it. That causes trauma. The addiction experience itself, just the simple fact, and it's not simple, but just the mere fact of needing a substance in order to feel well.
Yeah.
It is a situation where you no longer have choice. And I think most of us, and I mean, this is my belief, is that, whether you agree that the first time you used, you had choice, but in addiction, you lose your choice. It's like you are owned by that drug. So all those things become that's a traumatic experience in itself. Just the addiction, even if you had nothing else happen to you, nothing else, just the fact that you had to live in a way that you were dependent on something else with how you felt. That is a traumatic experience. And that is something that you may need trauma work over.
Everybody's trauma is different, right?
Yeah. Everybody's trauma is different. Trauma is not what happens to you. It's what happens inside of you. So maybe something that I've been through would not affect somebody else as it has affected me, and vice versa. It's not about the outside event. It's about what happens inside of you, because trauma is held in the body. So, I mean, I think about everything that, you know, I did in my addiction and all the, I was a slave. I was a slave to
I can get that.
heroin. I was, I mean, nothing was, I couldn't choose anything else. It was like, my freedom of choice was returned when I got into recovery. Today I have freedom of choice. So now that I am out of that addiction, today I can choose. So today, if something happens and I do pick up that first drink or that first drug, whatever, that I would believe would be a choice.
Right.
That would be my choice. No matter what it is, it's not something to be ashamed of, but it would be a choice. But during my addiction, I lost control of my choice.
Yeah.
That drug had me by the balls if I had balls.
Right.
Yeah.
No, really. I mean, that mental obsession, I mean, it's all I thought about. It's all I could do. I couldn't shake it. And then all this this shame again and I couldn't wait to get one more to stop this pain. I'm pained up over, not counting the physical allergies of the pain, having to have one, not, the restless legs, the whole nine, you know where I'm going, y'all.
The worst.
Yeah. Just the craziness. And it wasn't until, the detox, on a jail floor, it was like 17 days before I actually slept. I mean, the whole, the whole deal, not being able to sleep, using the restroom, using the bathroom on myself, one and two.
Oh yeah.
All that, man, going through that. But again, getting the tools that I needed this time. And it took some Carlton Robinson again telling me the truth about me. You know what I mean? Because my sick mind, I love my kids. I loved them. And the thing is, I didn't love myself. I didn't know how to love anybody. Like you talked about, and everything's interior, and I'm looking for things outside of me to fix me. It's not going to pop like that. It don't work like that. It's all temporary outside, everything, interior is where it starts. Everything exterior is temporary. The new shoes, I feel good for a little while. You know what I mean? You girls, y'all get them new high heels and pumps, get your little new dress on. Oh, look at me. You know what I mean? Us dudes, we get a fresh fit, the little car. The newness wears off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything's interior. Nothing exterior is going to fix me. Let's get it together right through here. I want to, everybody, we on here, we got 191 Papa. Oh, it's a 200 done. Help us share it out. If you haven't shared it out, Destiny Miller's in the house. I'm proud of you, Destiny. Let's do this. Let's don't play about it. Let's be about it. Let's do all we can to help others and give back. Turn Jesus up right through here. Not man's religion. No, we ain't in a cult right through here. You hear me, okay, man?
I know. I'm like, oh my God. No, just kidding.
What is really going on? Max up in his face. I see you, Max. Yeah, put those clean dates up in here real quick. Cassandra, I got you on lock right here. Real talk, real talk. There's Kelly down in Ohio. I love you, woman. I'm proud of you. Let's keep doing this. Do this together, man. Right through here. HAL. Here we go. Denny Wilson, I see you, my brother. I'm glad you're here.
Denny.
Up in this. Let God in the wind. Ashley Hatfield, my peoples. Ashley can have that baby. I see you, girl. Y'all doing good down there in London. I love y'all. Keep doing what you're doing. Real quick, if I could have everybody do this for me. Let's hashtag get off me devil one time. Let's get it popping right here. Let me find it. Scared. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. My bad, y'all. If you would, it'll only take a second. Just hashtag it. T Bass is in here. T Bass, lead the way. Margaret Cotton was on her a minute ago. So for real, we're gearing up for this Blameless Children, Jen. It was nuts last year. And of course, this Kovac thing's popping. We've done got with, Journey Church, and they're open for August the 8th. And we're gonna run it like it's gonna happen. Let God put his hand on it, let it pop. You know what I mean? It was a good event last year. It was amazing. We had around 800 people. Every child got a toy, and that's where I go. How I grew up, things like, I had what I needed. God gave me what I needed, no doubt. But just seeing, poverty and different things, man, just want to give back. I grew up bumming churches, on Christmas. They'd bring the little Christmas, and I'd hide and wait on the next church. The fire department bring a Christmas basket. I'd hide theirs, wait on the sheriff's department, those kind of things. That's what we did. Lord have mercy. But yeah, man. So to get off me, devil's popping. Thank y'all. Let me get in the comments. I see Tammy Turner's on here. Katie, how you doing? Tamber, is that how you say it? Did I assassinate your name? Can you read that, Jen?
Yeah,
What is
Tambra
it?
Parkinson.
Okay, I see you. Oh, didn't want to butcher. I was in special ed. Don't you judge me.
They got to have my glasses on because I can't see anything without them.
Right. Well, I'm supposed to be victim to victor. Yes, Jason. That's my
There you
cousin
go.
down there in
Love
Broadhead,
that.
Kentucky. Real talk. Dale Sanders hanging tough with us tonight. Glad to see you on here, Dale. I love you, my brother. Dale puts up a wall every year of people that has lost, that has passed. Let me refer
Yeah.
that has passed due to addiction and everything. Thank you, Dale, for everything you do. We're excited. I'll let you know when the meeting is. I think it's at the end of the month. I'd love for you and the missus to be there. We're gonna have a good time. So give us something, girl. It ain't over. The party just started. We've been in here a hot 36 minutes.
That's
Share
nothing.
Cliff Bass is in here. Say hi to Cliff, y'all. Y'all be
Hi,
there
Cliff.
Friday. Cliff's my guy. Cliff's my guy. Real talk, real talk. So, go ahead. You got the floor. Let me get out the way.
Okay, get out the way.
No doubt, no doubt.
So, gosh, I feel like I've missed a lot of my story, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. So, in prison, growing up in that cult environment and, all that, I thought that God was a mean God and, God of pain and just torture. And I believe that, I wanted nothing to do with God, really. The God that I was shown, So in prison, about a year into my sentence, amazingly, or not amazingly, but I had a divine intervention. So that's what I call it. I was sitting in my cell and if you've been there, so I was surrounded by cement walls and a locker, and I thought I was balling with my soups and chips.
Oh, you had some chips and soup, and
I used to smuggle tobacco with my job. I would drive tobacco across the gates.
So what was you in the laundry room? Where was you at?
I was in it was called I wore green, so I actually operated a forklift.
Shut up.
I would drive around. This is hilarious. And I would drive around on a forklift, and I would pick up the recyclable trash cans all across the prison, right? And bring them back to this big warehouse. And then I would get on top of this big flatbed truck on and in the trash and then sort through these recyclables. Well, the one recyclable trash can that was out by visiting. So other people's people, whatever, would drop off designated bags full of tobacco in that trash bin. I would bring it across the border, or not the border, the gate.
Right.
And I would bring it across the gate, and then I would sort, and I would stash it on me. And I could have been caught so many times, but it's like nuts. And I would get some of the tobacco, and I'd give them their tobacco that they, their people dropped off. And then, so I always had soups and chips and smokes, because you can't smoke in prison in California.
Thank you. No, but I worked shift command, third shift. This was back in 2009. No, I'm sorry, 2004. And I had it, and I got to go, I'm cleaning, whatever. I got to empty the trash on the outside. So exactly what you said, we'd have our peoples, get a McDonald's up, put the tobacco in it,
right,
the trash. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's what
people
do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, no consequence was ever bad enough for me to, be like, oh, and prison is hell. I'm sorry. I fucking hated it there. Excuse my language. It was terrible. It is terrible. It's like full of prison is full of trauma. My goodness. She just traumatized people, and just, people just preying on each other. And oh my gosh.
But and I look at this because I always find a way to get more.
Yeah.
I always find a way to get more dope, So why I got to use every bit of that, man, today to say where I'm at. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, we know how to fix feelings. I lost my daughter, in 2017, 27 years old. All that shame we talk about came back because I wasn't a good father. All that shame came back. I'd done some things to try to get her. Well, I got her into 2 different facilities, treatment facilities, and she didn't stay. But again, when she passed, all that shame came back, and I still wake up some days. I'm just like, what could I have done different? What could I have done different? You know, it like I said, and again, it was to fix me. It would be so easy to go pick up some dope, man, and stop that. You know what I mean? But today I'll feel it and I'll reach out like I just did and tell on it. Um, and I'll just tell on that trauma. On that shame, pain, that guilt.
Guilt, yeah.
And move forward, man. I'm not unique. And your story is powerful. I mean, you were a baby. That really messes me up. You were a 5-year-old baby. I couldn't imagine a 5-year-old baby, little girl, little boy being harmed like that.
I look at my kids. So I have a 7-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. And, they live in a home that looks nothing like any home I've ever been in when I was a kid. That's for sure. And I don't mean by the outsides. I mean by the insides. And I just can't even wrap my heart around my children even having a drop of the feelings I had. Just even as I can't even imagine. It's hard for me to understand. It's hard for me to wrap my heart around any children suffering like that. But it happens all the time. And I hear, being a sexual abuse survivor, I get people reach out to me, and I sometimes have children that are being abused reach out to me, and it happens. It's not shocking. It happens, and it happens a lot.
And it does. I have a very close friend of mine. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. His name is Seth. He's 32 now, and it wasn't until he was 30 years old that he shared about that. The neighbor molesting him. He was 9, 10 years old at the time. And again, he didn't share about that till he was 30 years old and got that.
Yep.
And like
that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important, to talk about this stuff, because, I talk about it everywhere. So like sometimes people, are not too thrilled with me, like, cause I don't, it doesn't matter where I'm at. If I'm in a 12-step meeting or if I'm in a whatever meeting, I don't think anything is an outside issue. I believe everything I believe everything is the issue. It's why we're here. It's why you're in that seat, and we need to talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, then nobody knows about it. And if nobody knows about it, people are suffering from it. People are suffering from shame and trauma in recovery. See, the thing about recovery is that it's never as good as it gets. Okay. It always can be better. And so let's just say, okay, great. You have time in recovery. You have, absence. You're not using, you're not drinking, you've gotten some possessions back. You made amends. You work your steps or whatever, if that's your path. You have a sponsor, if that's your path. You have sponsees, whatever. But you don't heal the other stuff, the shame, the trauma. I promise you, your recovery is not as big and beautiful as it can be. But nobody wants to talk about it. We want to keep all this conversation. Most of the time, these conversations want to stay on the drugs and alcohol. We just want to talk about that stuff, or like, bad behaviors and stuff. But we don't want to talk about, heaven forbid, we talk about sexual abuse every time, or child abuse, or religious abuse. That's what I went through. That was religious abuse. Spiritual abuse, all these things are why we're here. They're why we got on heroin. They're why we were drinking ourselves to death. They're why we were cutting. They're why had sex addictions and gambling addictions and seeking anywhere outside of ourselves to heal our wounds. All that stuff is just a coping skill. They're poor coping skills, but they're just coping skills. That's all it is. It was just a way for you to survive being in your own skin. Unfortunately, it had lots of negative consequences and affected a lot of people around you. But that really is ultimately all problematic drug use is a coping skill to survive yourself. That's it. Right. So, yeah, like Max said, you can't heal if you're hiding it, because hiding it leaves it's an echo chamber. So if you keep it in your head, all you hear is echoing of your own shit.
Yeah.
you're not going to get anywhere. And so I talk about it everywhere. And what's amazing is that I'm telling you, every single time so far up to today, every single time I've shared about these things in a 12-step meeting with the old timers, and
Well,
I'm
they do.
sure they're going to rip me a
They go get you, girl.
I'm sure, right? And I have some look at me funny, but every single time up to this day, I have an old timer come up to me after the meeting, or sometimes in the meeting with tears in their eyes, and say thank you, because they were abused, they were molested, they were, this or that, or raped in prison, or, and they've never put two and two together, that maybe that's why they're still suffering in recovery. People suffer in recovery because we put ourselves in this box, right? We put ourselves in this box. And I love all paths to recovery. I realize this is like a 12-step family here, so I'm trying to be very, but all paths to recovery, 12 steps, Dharma, celebrate, go to church, do whatever it is, whatever path you're on. But we put ourselves in this box, right? And we're real afraid to look outside the box, because either we're afraid internally, or people tell us, oh, you're going to relapse if you veer off. No. Advocate for yourself. Be an advocate for your own healing and your own recovery, and add in tools. There are so many tools available to us, and we are worthy of everything that's available to heal our lives. That is what I did about 2 years in recovery. So let me just tell about my divine intervention. So amazingly, the horrible God, the God that I thought was just horrible, he came to me in prison, and a sensation came over my body, and the sound left the room, and I heard 4 words, or I felt them, that just said, "This is your life." And I was 34. I didn't own a pair of pants. Like I said, my teeth were coming out of my mouth. I was scarred up, everything. Just a wounded woman to the max. No friends, nothing. And finally a tiny spark ignited in my heart, real tiny, but that believed I didn't deserve to die like that. I didn't want to die that way. I didn't want to overdose in some riverbed as a transient, whose identification was pending, because nobody even knew who the hell I was.
Right.
And that is my recovery date, May 1st, 2011. I have not picked up a drink or a drug since that day.
9 years, John.
9 years, yeah.
Well, tell us about your book.
So I wrote a book. It's called Shape of a Woman by Jen Elizabeth. And it's, basically just telling my story, obviously, my childhood stuff, and, kind of like how I walked through, realizing that I am worth something, and that, I am capable of living just like everybody else, and that I don't need to be silent anymore. And today I'm silent about nothing. I talk about it all. And that, we each have a story, and those stories may not be for everybody, but they're exactly what somebody needs to hear. And so I'm here for those somebodies. Like, I'm here for that one person, even if it's just one person that maybe catches this, that one person that has been living with those childhood secrets, and they think that maybe they're just not working their program right. That's why they're so miserable. It works if you work it. So you're working it hard. You're being honest. You got your sponsor, you got your sponsees, you're doing whatever you're supposed to do on that path, but you're still suffering with depression and anxiety and nightmares and eating disorder and whatever it is. I'm here for that one person to say that you are worthy of adding more stuff to your recovery. I promise you that your recovery your whole world will blow wide open.
Wide open, huh?
Wide
you got to love yourself.
Open. Yep.
I love loving me today.
Yeah, that's so great.
I'm
so great.
get off me, devil. That evil committee, look here, y'all better go somewhere else and play. I love me today. Hallelujah, amen. Here we go. Turn Jesus up. That's what we do on her. My man Brandon Ragland up in the house. Real talk. Tell them where they can find the book. And
Oh,
like after the show, she's going to go in the comments.
yes.
So there's a lot of people interested. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm on my phone and I don't like to get on my computer. I'll lose track. It's on Amazon, Shape of a Woman by Jen Elizabeth, and I will get on and answer everybody's comments if anybody, if anybody needs help or whatever, DM me and I, we'll talk to you about it and give you some suggestions. But so I have a God today, and the God that I grew up with was not. That was man. That was not of God. That was a man, and I know that today, that, God would have never put me through that, and so I'm real careful. I do still have, I'm a little bit iffy on organized religion. Like I tried to go to church, and it wasn't the church. It was, and there's amazing churches, and I it was, I think just the scene and like the traditions and the song, I started shaking inside and I got real nervous. I thought I was going to throw up, and that was trauma. It was nothing to do with anybody else.
Right,
it's trauma. I have religious abuse. And so that's okay. I think God understands that. I'm super, super spiritual. I just feel a little bit nervous still around, organized religion. But yeah, I do a lot of stuff today. Like I definitely, I advocate for trauma work, EMDR therapy. That's been my lifesaver for me. Microcurrent neurofeedback, inner child healing, inner child meditation, where I take a picture of myself at that. I take a picture of that little girl, that little 5-year-old girl. And I look at it and I close my eyes and I envision myself walking over to her and I pick her up off that floor and I twirl her in the sunshine and I hold her and I tell her she is love and light and perfect, and none of that was her fault. And none of that is her burden to carry. And together we can walk through anything, and she is safe. And I do this every morning.
Amen.
And it has changed me. What's happening is I am becoming that little girl's mom. So I'm reparenting that little girl. And as I focus on re-loving that little baby, because she's still there, she's still inside me. She's the wounded one inside of me. And I know that sounds real hoo-hoo and hot. I don't envision, she's not a separate entity, but you get what I'm saying. Her spirit, those wounds are still in me.
Teach, because I'm trying to grow here. Okay? I'm trying to grow. I don't, let people gonna be where they at, but that little boy's in me.
That little boy is still there. That spirit is still there. His wounds are still there. And actually, what's amazing is that wounded boy actually tries to protect you today. But the way that a child protects is different than the way the adult. And so that's what sometimes trauma comes up, because we tend to withdraw from people, or we're real jumpy, or we're real afraid people don't like us. And all these things, those are just protection. It's just protecting us from pain. That's all that is. And so I really honor her today, and I honor everything that she went through. And by loving her the way, from the heart of the mother that I am, it's changing the woman I am today, because it's almost as if I was not raised that way, that I was raised by me, and it's healing me over time. It's healing me. It's helping. It's part of my healing process. I have a lot of healing stuff I do. I do everything that I suggest. Any options I give you is something that I definitely have done myself, would do myself. Writing is huge. Pen and paper writing is huge. You don't have to be a great writer. You don't have to want to write a book. You don't have to just write, write what you're feeling, get it out. It's therapeutic. write your prayers, just getting it out on pen and paper, or with pen and paper, and seeing it on that paper. It's a known fact, it's been studied, that it actually is therapeutic and helps. It helps me a lot, and I write a lot. What else do I do? And everything I really suggest. I love therapy. I think therapy is wonderful. I hope everybody, gets an opportunity to try therapy if that's what's happening. I love what Rachel said. And, trauma trained and trauma informed therapists, gosh, there's just so much available. And what's really cool today is Google, as lame as that sounds, but you can really Google anything, and there's so much out there that you can get for free. You don't have to have a bunch of money. And it's unfortunate that therapy is not, that's one thing that I really, want to work on.
It's free right now. Hear me?
Yeah. Hell yeah, right?
Free right now. Woo, come on.
Dr. Jen is up here.
Do your thing. No, it's real. Come on.
These are things that have changed my life. Like, I'm not just telling you, bells and whistles. These things have changed my life. Like I said, trauma work saved my recovery, because at about 2 years in recovery, I started thinking about suicide again. Because all I really did was work on the drugs and alcohol and my behaviors and making amends, and writing out my past wrongs and telling, I did all that. I did it, and I was working it hard, but I was not addressing my trauma. I was not addressing what was being held in my body, for so many years. And I started fantasizing. I thought, if this is as good as it gets, then I'd rather not be here. It's never as good as it gets. Yeah. Ever. Please don't ever settle on anything in recovery, because it's never as good as it gets.
Tell them that again, for the ones that didn't hear it. Never settle for anything.
Never settle for anything less in recovery. Don't settle for how you're feeling now just because you're clean and sober. There's never as good as it gets. That phrase, take that out of your entire book vocabulary, because it always gets better. We always get better. I don't want to be the same woman next year I am sitting right here with you guys. I want to be an entirely different woman. And guess what? I'm capable of it, because I'm worthy of everything that's available to me to heal my life. Everything. And I'm going to take it. And I'm going to do it.
That's right.
So yeah, that's what I do. And what else do I do? Oh yeah. So I'm a big believer in harm reduction. This will be another subject that might get touchy on here, but that's okay. That's my jam. When I first got into recovery, I was very anti harm reduction. Very anti. I did not like, if you were on any type of medication, medicated, assisted, anything, you weren't allowed to share in the meetings that I ran.
Where are you now?
Yeah. And I was like, as long as you're willing to get sober, then I'm willing to help you. And actually, let's be real. As long as you're willing to get sober my way, then I'm willing to help you.
You had to do it just like you?
Well, in my 12 steps. As long as you're willing to do the 12 steps, that was my jam at the time. As long as you're willing to do it this way, then I'm willing to help you. But what harm reduction says is that I'm willing to help you now. No matter what your future looks like, no matter what your future plans on, you matter now. You don't have to want, and if anybody's still using on here, I don't know, but you do not have to want sobriety for me to love you. In fact, I want you to take care of yourself. For me, recovery, the ultimate definition of recovery is anything that a person does that takes better care of themselves than the day before. And those may not be big and ginormous. I'm coming up with these really weird words. They may not be huge steps to somebody else, but trust me, those seeds plant. Seeds of kindness and compassion, and hugging someone who's on the streets and telling them that they're worth, housing. Harm reduction is a lot of things. It's housing, it's food, it's mental health services, it's condoms, it's STD tests, it's clean needles, this is the thing that bothers a lot of people, clean needles and drug testing kits and, obviously medication assisted, like Suboxone and methadone, but harm reduction does not support drug use. It supports people that use drugs, and there is a difference. It's person first. The people matter more than their behaviors. When you separate a person from their behaviors, see, I was not worth any less under that bridge than I am sitting here right now. I just didn't know it.
Boom, teach.
But I was worth the same. My life was worth the same. My safety was worth the same. I was worthy of medical care and kindness and all that, but I just didn't know it. I'm worth the same right now. No, there is no difference. There is no difference. My worth, a human's worth, is no difference. So once I really started educating myself on harm reduction, I saw that I was wrong, that I had been wrong all those first years, first 4 or 5 years in recovery.
Oh, I get it. You hear me? I get it.
I had been wrong. Yep. And most of the time, people that are really against it is because they're not educated on it.
They're not educated.
That's all.
Times I would see people get out of treatment and they would come in there and say the word sobriety, and they'd be in another fellowship, and then you
right.
have, somebody eating their back out because they didn't use clean and they used
right. Oh God, I know. I did.
And
the
I'm
same
over
thing.
here going, really, man? This dude
is
doing
something
something different. Don't run them off.
So for me,
off.
I really actually try not.
Now that's not as a whole.
It's people. Yeah, it's usually people that are not educated or educated on harm reduction.
Some nutcase misuse, wanting to act like he knows something. Well, first of all, you don't know you're being ugly. You hear me?
They're harming people.
Ugly, right?
Yeah, right. They're harming people. That's the thing, is people are very careless and throw out, I call them junk statements, junk phrases.
I like that.
And but those, it's like junk science. It's like junk phrases. Sometimes these phrases we throw out and these principles we throw out and the way we treat people that are doing it a different way or just trying or, whatever, we are harming people, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And I personally did not get into recovery or stay in recovery to cause harm.
Yeah.
As best as I can. So once I'm aware of something that I do or believe that is possibly causing harm, I really take a look at that today. Amen. And so I'm really careful with the words I use, because words create thoughts. Thoughts turn into beliefs. Beliefs turn into shame. So I'm really careful with, a lot of people are comfortable being called addict. I called myself an addict for many, many years, but it does harm some people. So instead, I choose not to try to harm anyone. And I say people who use or, problematic substance use, whatever it is, I just try to be really mindful, because I don't want to be the last straw that somebody pushes them out of trying to take better care of themselves than yesterday. Because I know what it's like to not know what you're even fighting for in the first place. I remember like yesterday, I had nothing inside of me that wanted to fight. I had no memory to even hold on to like fight for. So it blows today. I'm like anybody that has, one day in recovery or their first day on Suboxone, or, it's those new people that are trying something. Those are my heroes. My heroes are not the people with 25 years.
No,
they're not the people with 9 years. It's the people that are trudging. It's the people that are on the street right now, waiting in line for methadone, because even though methadone is, it has all kinds of negative side effects and all that stuff. I get it. Okay. But that is an act of self-love. It may not be an act of self-love that everyone wants to recognize, but it is an act of self-love. Trust me, everyone, as long as there's pain in this world, as long as there is trauma in this world, and there are drugs and alcohol, we will always have addiction. It will never go away. Never. So while we have addiction, are those people not worthy of health care? Are those people not worthy of housing? Are those people not worthy of food, mental health care, a hug, without an agenda, without
Somebody
trying to
hold
bring
me.
them, without trying to bring them to your meeting, without trying to say, well, I'm going to hug you, but are you ready to get sober now or clean or whatever your verbiage is?
Yeah,
No,
what's the
just
agreement? Yeah.
because they matter. Period.
That's it. We're human
That's
first.
it. That's it. They matter. That's all.
Again, if I'm expecting something in return, it's business. Even if it's like, oh, bring you to this meeting, or
It
take you
is.
to my home group, or this and that. That's not kindness, man. You got
It's
motives.
not kindness.
There's
And the
motives
thing
behind
is,
everything, but my motives today, I check my motives first and foremost before I,
motives are everything.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're past time, girl. You got some
Okay.
hope. Thank you. We're at oh gosh, an hour and 6 minutes 20 seconds.
Oh, sorry.
We know you killed it. What, dude? We
Oh.
got to do this again. Amazing.
Anytime.
Again. And Jen told you guys she'll be back in here. I think
Yes, I will.
Higgy helped us out. Thank you, Higgy. No more heroin, Higgy. My
Yeah, I
man,
love
man,
Higgy.
What? Robin Higginbotham, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
sir.
the man.
So yeah, my man Dusty Kensler on here, giving back. I'm glad you're here. Thank each and every one of you, man, for joining us tonight. And like Jen said, we're all equal. Nobody's above us. Nobody's below us. We're all one.
Right.
We all are worthy. We all have purpose. Andrea Walsh, I see you. Let's recover. I see you. Destiny Miller, I'm glad you're on here tonight. Tammy Turner Lucas, thank you as always. You're my ace, no doubt about it. Jason Dearborn, I'm glad you're here. But yeah, any last words?
Just that, please remember that there's no such thing as good as it gets. You are worthy of the world.
Amen.
That's it, really.
and of course, Jen's got a page. Higgy put it in there. She'll be on here, answering any questions that need to be answered. And yeah, we got to do this again.
Anytime.
I'm serious.
I'll be happy.
I'm serious now.
Anytime. I got lots more to say, man.
I need you.
Anytime.
I want to get on the prison. I can relate when we're talking about smuggling things into the.
Yeah. Anytime.
Like, well, I love that was my gig too,
Yeah.
But we'll chop it out. I know we're not glamorizing the madness.
No, of course not.
We just didn't know how to live. But actually, we knew how to live by the life we had created. Woohoo!
I'm a survivor, believe me.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. But Chris Styles, y'all, my man, 100 grand. We gotta give him a shout out real quick. Boom, y'all. Skittle bop, bam, my man Chris Styles up in this piece. I love you, boy. He's from Alabama, y'all.
Oh no, that's where I lived for a long time.
He came to Kentucky for a little while. Yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy. Real talk, real talk. Well, I love you and thank you so much.
I love everybody here.
God is truly working through you. I'm still going back to that little 5-year-old girl, man. Thank you.
Go back to that 5-year-old boy.
Yeah.
That's where the answer is.
Amen.
Love that boy. Love that boy.
Oh, Maya Jones down there in San Francisco, California. Maya up in the house. I'm sorry. I get hype. That's my people right there. Hear me? I get hype off that.
I can tell.
Yeah, you
I can tell.
I can't help it. Woo. Yes.
I love it.
But thank you so much. I'm serious. I'm going to hit you up. I know you're busy. I'll text you. And yeah, man, I'd love to get you back on here. We'll do a 24 hours. You hear me?
Yeah, right.
I'll be over here like, what is going on?
I could keep going. Believe me, anytime.
Honestly, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping others, man. Real talk. I'll see you soon. Thank each and every one of you, man. Thanking us for sharing this out, making your comments. Jen's going to get in there and let her talk, baby. We're going to live today. Amen.
Amen.
Real talk. Thank you, baby. We're out.
Bye. We're out.
Hold on. Oh, skid. All right.